froze. The only sound was the wind and a grocery bag rolling across the asphalt. Reed stood frozen, eyes wide. Elijah slowly raised his hands again, his voice calm but firm. "You're pointing your weapon at a federal officer," he said. "This is going to destroy your career. Think carefully." Reed hesitated, then spoke up. "Wait, check the ID," he said nervously. "It's real. Look at the badge." But Miller didn't lower the gun. His breathing was heavy, his finger twitching near the trigger. Elijah stared at him, wondering what kind of hate could blind a man this badly. Suddenly, a voice crackled over Miller's radio. "Unit 24, dispatch here. That U.S. Marshal's identity is confirmed. Repeat, confirmed. Do not detain." Miller froze, his face drained of color. Reed let out a shaky breath. "Oh, God." Elijah stood motionless, still staring at the man who almost pulled the trigger. The silence was heavy, the tension thicker than ever. Then, with slow, shaking hands, Miller holstered his gun and muttered, "Just doing my job." Elijah's voice came low and cold. "No," he said, "you were doing your prejudice." He grabbed his ID from Miller's trembling hand, got back into his SUV, and drove away without saying another word. But that wasn't the end, because within hours, the story hit social media. A witness across the street had recorded everything on her phone, and when the world saw a black U.S. Marshal being held at gunpoint by a city cop, outrage exploded. That night, Elijah's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, officials, and even the marshal's office wanted answers. He sat in his living room, still in disbelief. He had spent 15 years serving the country, tracking fugitives, arresting dangerous criminals, risking his life. Yet one racist officer nearly ended it all over a description. And the worst part? He knew this wasn't an isolated event. It was a symptom of something deeper, something broken. And Elijah Grant wasn't going to let it go. Because tomorrow he was going to fight back. Not with violence, but with truth. He was going to make sure the whole world saw what really happened on that quiet street in Atlanta. And when he did, it was going to shake the entire police department to its core. By sunrise, the video had spread across every social platform in America. The clip was only 40 seconds long, but it showed everything. A calm black man in a suit, hands raised, and a white police officer with his gun drawn, yelling threats. It was clear, raw, and real. Millions watched it. Thousands shared it. And within hours, Elijah Grant's name became national news. Reporters camped outside his house. News vans lined the street. Every headline screamed the same words. U.S. Marshal wrongfully held at gunpoint by city police officer. Elijah sat at his kitchen table, staring at the news on his phone. His coffee had gone cold. His wife, Alyssa, placed a hand on his shoulder. "You didn't deserve that," she said quietly. He nodded slowly. "I know," he whispered, "but this isn't about me anymore." He had seen injustice before, in the field, in the courtroom, in reports that never made it to TV. But now, it had come for him. And he was determined not to let it fade away like all the others. That afternoon, he put on his marshal uniform and drove to the Atlanta Police Department headquarters. The same black Chevrolet Tahoe that had been surrounded the day before now rolled through the city streets like a symbol of defiance. Inside the department, everyone knew who he was. The tension in the hallways was thick. Some officers nodded respectfully. Others looked away, embarrassed or defensive. Elijah walked straight to the Internal Affairs office, his jaw tight. The investigator, Captain Leonard Briggs, stood up when Elijah entered. Briggs was an older man with gray hair and weary eyes. He had been in the force long enough to know when something was wrong, and this, he could tell, was very wrong. "Elijah," Briggs said carefully, "I've already seen the footage. It's bad. Really bad." "I want it handled the right way," Elijah said firmly. "Not buried, not delayed. You saw how close that man was to shooting me." Briggs nodded. "We've already suspended Officer Miller and his partner. The investigation's open. But you know how this goes. It'll take time." Elijah leaned forward. "Time is fine. Silence isn't." Briggs sighed. "You're about to stir up a storm, son." "Then let it storm," Elijah replied. Outside, cameras flashed as he exited the building. Reporters shouted questions. "Marshal Grant, do you plan to sue the department? Did you fear for your life? Do you think race played a role?" He didn't stop. He didn't need to. Everyone already knew the answer. That night, Elijah's phone rang again, this time from Washington, D.C. It was the director of the U.S. Marshals Service, Eleanor Ray. "Elijah," her voice came sharp and controlled. "I've been briefed. You handled yourself professionally under extreme pressure. I'm proud of that." "Thank you, ma'am," he said quietly. "But," she continued, "this has gone beyond local news. The Department of Justice is watching closely. Be ready to testify if it escalates." Elijah knew what that meant. His life was about to change again. Not in the streets this time, but in courtrooms and press rooms, where truth fought against spin. Meanwhile, Officer Miller was sitting alone in his small suburban home, blinds closed, phone buzzing nonstop. He'd been placed on leave without pay. The video made him the face of racial bias in policing. Some people called him a monster. Others defended him online. But inside, Miller wasn't sleeping. He replayed the moment again and again. The gun, the fear, the voice of a man telling him to think carefully. He wanted to believe he had done his job right, but deep down he knew he hadn't. And he also knew his career was hanging by a thread. 3 days later, a public hearing